Exercise 34, question number 1. This is on page 67. In this particular formula, R2 equals R1 multiplied by 1 plus alpha t, this formula that you've got, alpha, this symbol here, you're being asked to find. Well, I'm going to do a slightly different question. I'm going to ask you to find t, given these values for R1, R2 and alpha here. So I'll run through this, and again I'm going to try it two ways. I'm going to put the values in and solve it as an equation, and then I'm going to try rearranging the formula and doing it that way. Looking at this particular formula, this is to do with actually the change in resistance as the temperature of something changes, where alpha is the coefficient of resistivity of the material. So R2 will be the final resistance that you get, and R1 will be the initial resistance, usually taken when the temperature is 0. So this is quite a familiar formula. So let's have a go. First of all, by putting the values in. So the first thing I would do is substitute in the numbers instead of the values in the equation, or in the formula rather. So R2 equals 5.6, R1 equals 4, brackets 1 plus alpha, which is 21.8, times t. You could expand out the bracket here, but probably the easiest thing to do is to divide both sides by 4, because this whole bracket has been multiplied by 4, so divide by 4. So 5.6 divided by 4 will equal 1 plus 21.8t. I no longer need the bracket. So work out what 5.6 divided by 4 is. Turns out to be 1.4 equals 1 plus 21.8t. And then if we look at the right hand side, we can see that we've got 1 plus 28t. So we want to end up with just t. So the t has been multiplied by 21.8, and then it's had the 1 added. So the last thing that was done was the 1 was added. So subtract 1 from both sides. So I get 0.4 equals 21.8t. And then finally, t has been multiplied by 21.8. So divide by 21.8. t equals 0.4 divided by 21.8. Put that into the calculator, and out will come the answer. Now let's have a look at it from the point of view of just rearranging the formula. So if we look at this right hand side here, what I want to do, I'm after t, so I want to rearrange this formula for t. And I follow almost the same sort of logic as I do for solving the equation, only I can't work it out as I'm going along. So everything on the right hand side has been multiplied by R1 outside the bracket, so divide both sides by R1. R2 over R1 equals 1 plus alpha t. Again, we no longer need the bracket. So now subtract the 1. R2 over R1 minus 1 equals alpha t. And then divide both sides by alpha, and I get t equals R2 over R1 minus 1, all divided by alpha. And then I can put the values in and work out what t is. And you should get the same answer both ways. The beauty of doing it the second way is that I've now got a general formula to find t. So for any values of R2, R1 and alpha, I can now just plug them in and work out what t is, without having to go through all that problem of solving the equation. Now you have a go at the original question, which asks you to find alpha. If you want, try it both ways. You should get the same answer both ways.